Good morning, everybody. We are back to Amud Yomi. It is Tuesday, and we are here again in Avos Shalom Torah Center. We are in Daf Tesvav Amud Aleph in Kiddushin. That's today's page. We're all on the same page. Welcome also to people on YouTube and on Torah Anytime. Welcome all of you, and those of us who are with us on Zoom. We've been learning, actually we started yesterday learning about Eved Ivri. How is an Eved Ivri, how's he being acquired, how does he buy himself, and v'chulei halachos related to the Eved Ivri. We also learned that there are four halachos that are possibly different, between Eved Ivri that sold himself because he was just poor, he needed to sell himself, and that Eved, his details are mentioned in Vayikro, Parshas Bahar. And then there are other halachas that apply to an Eved that was sold through BSD Din. BSD Din sometimes sells an Eved, the Eved being sold because he stole and he doesn't have money to pay. Instead of paying the money, he's been sold for an Eved for 6 years. By the way, regarding your question that it's not fair to punish the person who stole a million and the person who stole 100 shekels, in a way you're right. Of course, that the idea is that here he pays 100, here he pays million, and most probably he'll get free quicker, the one who's 100. But conceptually, there's something wrong in your idea. The famous Gemara in Sanhedrin says in Daf Ches Amud Aleph, if I'm not mistaken, I think Daf Ches Amud Aleph on the top of the page, it says Resh Lakish, din pruta sheh benecha din pruta shovel din mea. In other words, to steal or to lend or to borrow without giving back, $1 is like $1,000,000. Conceptually, it's the same because although for the other person the loss is greater, still your avera is the same avera. I'll give you an example. Ben Adam Lamokoim, two people eat chazir b'mezid. One of them really enjoyed it. It was a real good piece of ham. Really, he's licking his fingers, and and the other one, yeah, it was really a bad piece of ham. Very disappointing. It's not what he fantasized about all his life. It was a nice piece of ham. One gets malchus stronger than the other. No, they get the same malchus because at the end of the day, the avera is an avera. Of course, by theft, you have to give more and you have to give double. But at the end of the day, the avera of stealing is as severe. Yeah, I don't think in Shemaim they see differently, by the way, and that's as far as I know. Another point I'll make later. I have other things to say about your question from yesterday, but let's just get going. So now, no, 1 second. There are four halachas that apply to the Eved that was sold by Beis Din. They are mefurish in the Torah. While Eved is sold himself, these halachas, it's a machloikes whether they apply to him or not. What are these four halachas? I made Rosh Tevis to myself. She Soro. So had to do with Avadim. She enslaved Hogo. Shin Reishe. Let's see if I remember my own acronym. Yeah, Shin. So first of all, Shesh Shonim. In other words, the one who sold himself the one who was sold by Beis Din only has a 6 years term, no longer than that, unless he's nirtza, or the other one can make a condition maybe 10-15 years, right? What's the other shin? Shifcha, the one who was sold through Beis Din, and that's not a good thing for him. He gets a shifcha to be his so to speak, to be his wife. Well, the one who was sold by himself, the one who sold himself doesn't get a shifcha kanainis. Then you have the Reish. What's the Reish? Reish is Retzia. Very good. The Ir Retzia. Retzia, the one who actually sold himself, he doesn't have the option of prolonging it, for longer than 6 years, but until the Yovel by, poking his ear, while the one who was sold by Beis Din does have that option. And the Hayes Ha'anoko, the gifts, who gets the gifts? The one sold by Beis Din, and the one who sold himself doesn't get the gift. You asked why? I think I'll give another answer why. Because the one who stole already got a punishment. He was sold against his will. It's forced labor. Forced labor. The one who stole, he wants to keep stealing and he wants to not be a slave. He is an eved against his will, and he's also given a shivcha knanis against his will. So the conditions he gets are very, very good, but it's still it's like it's like a jail with very, very, very good conditions. But at the end of the day, he has to be by his master, not necessarily by his own will. Mashenke, the one who sold himself, is the person who sold himself. He decided to sell himself by his own free will. Maybe that's why the one who actually worked, forced, whatever, some kind of forced labor, although with excellent conditions, maybe that's why he gets the gifts at the end of the term, while the other one does not get the gifts at the end of the term. That's just my own idea. Maybe I'm wrong. but that is possibly true. Now, another piece of intro before we continue. We said yesterday that what's machlokes between Reb Lezer and Rabbanon. We said there's a Gzera Shova called Sochir, a Gzera Shova that compares between the Eved, which was Nimka Me'atzmoi, Moicheres Atzmoi, and Macharu BSD Din. It's a Gzera Shova Sochir. However, Tanakama believes that although conceptually there is such a Gzera Shova, and it may have other applications, still, the reason why we maintain that all four halachas only apply to the one which is Nimka BSD Din and do not apply the Merches Atzmoi, because on each parsha there's a specific pasuk lemiut to exclude the person who is Mercher Atzmoi, that he Mercher Atzmoi doesn't have these halachas applied to him. My timer. Let's go now to the ninth and 10th line. Go to about 9 or 10 lines from top of the page. Test Vav Amud Aleph. My time the Tanakama. Why is it that Tanakama says the Omar Moicher Atzmoi Ein Ma'anikin Loi? Oh, here's one more example. Why is it that the Nakama believes that a person who sold himself doesn't get that beautiful benefit at the end of the term, at the end of his job, when he goes home, he doesn't get that ha'anek ta'anik. Yeah, the nice gifts, it's supposed to be shloishim. That's a lot, shloishim, like shloishim shlevet. He gets 30 dinarim, 30. He gets a nice amount of money in the form of fruit, vegetables, cattle. So he gets that, the one who sold BSD Din. The one who sold himself doesn't get those gifts. The question is why? If you Tanakama believe in the Gzera Shova of Sochir, that everything that applies to one Evet should apply to the other, why do we differentiate between the two? Answers the Gemara, Miat Rachmano Gabe Mecharu BSD Din. The Torah specifically excluded and used an exclusive loshon regarding somebody who was sold through BSD Din, and we say Hanek Tanik Loi. You should surely, Anek Tanik, you should give a lot of gifts, loy, to him. To who? Only to the one who was sold by BSD Din, the rehabilitated thief. Loy veloy l'mocher atzmoi. Loy comes to exclude one who sold himself. The one who sold himself really doesn't get those gifts. Why? Because the Torah said so. It says loy veloy l'mocher atzmoi. So although usually there's a Gzera Shava, here the word loy comes to distinguish between them. I frag the Gemara ve'idach. Who's ve'idach? Reb Lezer. Reb Lezer says no. Reb Lezer says that really everything applies to everybody, and all Avadim get the gift at the end of the tenure. If so, so what would you do the pasuk loy? According to him, the pasuk loy, the word loy, which sounds very exclusive, what does that come to exclude? Answers the Gemara, ahu. Oh, that word loy, mibayle loy velo yoshov. It comes to tell you loy to him and not to his heirs. In other words, let's say the person, you finished working and really now you owe him the gifts. He finished his, let's say, 6 years, right? Or Yovel, whatever, he finished the job, finishes a term, and now he died, he dropped dead. He worked so hard for 6 years, he dropped dead while you're about to give him the beautiful bottles of wine and oil and sheep and goats. He died, so we say, Loi veloy liyolshov. You only give it to him. You don't give it to his heirs, to his children, to his, if no children, to the father, to the brothers. You don't give them. Really, why not? Does it make sense to you that the Torah would exclude the Yoshim? At the end of the day, the way the Torah defines this person, he's not an Eved, as I told you. He's a Sachir. He's a paid worker. It's true he's not paid the normal way, but he was kilu leased, for 6 years. He's a Sachir. Mas Sachir Polois Selioshov, Afai Pilos Selioshov. Just like the Sachir, really, the Pe'ula, meaning the salary that is owed, should go to the children, to the heirs. So too, this guy, it makes sense that the money owed by the master, by the employer, should go to his children, because, don't get confused now with the B'chor and Pashut. That's only, that's only by B'chor and Pashut. The B'chor doesn't get Pishnaim in potential gains. But otherwise, you do get potential gains. In other words, if the Odin owes money to the deceased, now that goes to the heirs, it goes to the Yorshim. If so, really, does it make sense to you to say that Loy comes to exclude them? They should come to the master and demand, we want our father's salary. It's like a salary. It's not like some special gift. Salary is owed to him mamish. Give it to the children. Ella, So therefore now we tweak it, we change a little bit. What does the word loy come to exclude? Loy veloy leba'al choivoy. Oh, loy veloy leba'al choivoy. What does that mean? Let's say, let's play, let's do some name calling, yeah? So there's a master, his name is Master, and there is the Eved, his name is Reuven. Shall I get original? And Reuven is the Eved. Now Reuven owes money to Benjamin Franklin. Yeah, he owes money to Benjamin. So now Reuven finished his term. Okay. Now Balabais, the master, wants to give Reuven his gift with a big smile. Comes Mr. Binyamin, yeah, who says, excuse me, the one you want to give money to him, he owes money to me. Your Eved, yeah, who worked for you for 6 years, you want to give him now the nice gifts, shloshim shekel. Yeah, shloshim shekel is a lot of money, yeah? No. He owes it to me. I'll charge it instead of him. And let's say the master says, no, I want to give it to the Eved. And he says, no, the Eved, you owe money to the Eved. The Eved owes money to me. Give it straight to me. I'll take you to BSD Din. So comes the turn, tells you, no, you only give it to the Eved and you don't give it to the lender, to the one mortgaging the Eved. Why would have I thought otherwise? You're looking at me as it's a very strange thing. Explains the Gemara, and we've seen it already in Bavakama Memo Amud Beis. Usually we believe in a very famous concept all over the Gemara, Ke Rabbi Noson. There's a very famous concept called Shiabuda de Rabbi Noson, which we're going to explain now. The Tanya. It says in the Brisa, Omar ben Noson, Minayin lenoishe b'chaveiroi mone. Let's say one person noishe b'chaveiroi mone. One person charges. It's the opposite of owing. One is being owed and wants to take money from his friend because he owes it to him. B'chaveiroi. However, yeah, Reuven owes money to Shimon. Shimon owes money to Levi. Right? One owes. There's a triangle. Yeah. I owe money to you, and you owe money to another person. How do you know that BSD Din, even against the will of some of those parties in this triangle, BSD Din forced the last person on the line to give the money straight to the first guy? Yeah, let's say Reuven owes money to Shimon, Shimon owes money to Levi. Reuven, in his turn, will give the money directly to Levi. Levi has the right to demand the money straight from Reuven, yeah, who owes money to his borrower. Yeah, the borrower's borrower gives it straight to the first lender, to the bigger fish. There's a big fish, medium fish, a small fish, like in the picture. The smaller fish gives straight to the big fish. How do you know? Now, what's the chiddush? Well, if everybody wants to do it, it's not a chiddush. Yeah, let's say I borrowed 50 shekels from Yitzchok, and Yitzchok borrowed 50 shekels from Tzvi. So then, if we all big smiles and friendly, makes a lot of sense that Akiva, instead of giving you 50 and you give it to Tzvi, I give it straight to Tzvi. The Torah doesn't have to tell me that. The Chiddush is, let's say Tzvi demands of me the 50 shekels, right? And then I say to Tzvi, no, I'm not interested in giving it to you. Why? I don't know, because a motorcycle, yeah? And therefore, I'm not interested in giving it to you. I'll give it to Yitzchok, and you deal, and it's big enough kamina. Let's say it's not 50, let's say it's 50 million. And let's say my house is mortgaged to who? To you. Who says automatically my house is already mortgaged to Tzvi? Maybe only to who? To Yitzchok, maybe to the first guy. And beyond that, my house is not mortgaged to you. No, I won't give it to you. Kamash Malan, Reb Nosson says, not like that. Reb Nosson says that whether I like it or not me, hopefully, whoever the person who owes money to one guy, and that guy in return owes to a bigger guy behind him, says Reb Nosson, yes, the person who, that's exactly the story, by the way, that we have over here, by the way, yeah, that the person who gives money, who owes money to one guy, and that one guy to another guy, there's a direct chibud to the first guy who is the first lender. And I, let's say in this case, the borrower, I cannot refuse to give it to the first guy, and it's meshubed to him. How do you know that that's halacha? Talmud loymar v'nosen lasher oshom loy. Yeah. In other words, it says in the Torah about the person that actually talks about Osham Gzelois, a person who stole and Nishba L'Sheker, we've been through that in above Metzia, a person who stole for someone and he lied and he swore, V'chulei L'Sheker, at the end of the day, he has to give back the money, La'asher Osham Loi. What's La'asher Osham Loi? Osham does mean guilt, I mean, could also mean that, Osham or fault. Osham here means the Keren. Keren means the money, which means whoever is owed the money, even though the loive as a person never committed himself to him. In our story, I never spoke to Tzvi about the 50 shekels, only to Yitzchak. But because the 50 shekels originally really is owed to the first person, to Tzvi, in my example, therefore I, the last in line, owe it directly to Tzvi because Osha means the money. Whoever misses money at the end of the game, at the end of this triangle, this musical chairs, at the end of the day, the one who's missing the 50 shekels at the end of the day, if I give it to Yitzchak and Yitzchak doesn't give it to Tzvi, then Tzvi is still missing his 50. Therefore, I will skip over Yitzchak and give it straight to Tzvi. Oshem loy. In other words, even though I never spoke to Tzvi, but Lamaisa, the calculation, the math here is Tzvi at the end of the game is missing 50. I have to give it straight to Tzvi. Now, because so now we understand better. Back to our story. Let's say I own what? I own a plantation and I have an Eved Ivri. At the end of the 6 years, I am the Balabais. I'm supposed to give him beautiful gifts. Now that Eved, his name is Reuven, he owes money to Binyamin. Now I would have said, hey, Shibud Adom Noson, classical Shibud Adom Noson. Instead of giving it to the Eved, Binyamin can force me and the Eved to stand in BSD Din, bang on the table, and demand, no, yeah, give it to me, Shibud Adom Noson. I'm the master. I owe to the Eved owes it to Binyamin, the lender. Yeah, the lender. Give it to Binyamin straight away. That's what it would have said, like B'chol Kula. Also loy comes the word loy le'apuki. Very good. Says Rabbi Lozo, yeah, the word loy really comes to tell you loy is opposed to the Baal Choiv, which means the Baal Choiv cannot force the Baal Abayis to give it straight to him. It's an exception to the rule of Shebuda de Obnoson. And if that's it, in other words, the word loy, the word loy doesn't come to exclude the other kind of Eved. The word loy, according to our Blazer, comes to tell me excluding the Baal Choiv. I saw the Rambam today. Unbelievable. I didn't see the Rambam himself, actually. I don't think I saw him. But I saw the words of the Rambam in the Sugya. The Rambam says something interesting, not like Rashi. Rambam says, let's say I am the Balabais and I gave the Eved the gift. I gave him wine and drinks and behemoths and everything. It's by him. Now comes his Baal Choiv, Binyamin, the one who wants to get his money rightfully, comes and says, hey, you just got those gifts, give them to me. You owe me shloishim, you owe me 30 million shekels. Give me the 30 million. It's not 30 million, yeah, 30,000, yeah. So no, that money is like sacred, so to speak, money. It stays by the Eved, and the Eved doesn't have the obligation to give it to the Malve. Unbelievable. Wow. Get that? In other words, even after it is in his pocket, this is like money that the Torah wants to have workers' rights, social rights, socialist, and the Eved who worked hard should enjoy his money, and nobody can take it from him, not even his Baal Choiv. The Baal Choiv wants to get back what he deserves. Okay, take other money, but not this. That's according to the Rambam. We erase the heirs. Mashiach heirs, they do get. The heirs you do give them. The Baal Choiv, it's because of Shabbat Rab Nosan, we don't believe in Shabbat Rab Nosan in this case. With the heirs, they do get. The heirs get. Now, what will the other opinion say? Now, if you learn loy and loy velo le moicher atzmoi, so how do you know loy and not to the Baal Choiv? You used up the pasuk. So how do you know that the Baal Choiv cannot charge straight from the Balabais and skip over the head of the Eved? How do you know that this is not right? Answer the Gemara simple. The Almanami lo svirlan kerbinoson. In other words, we usually don't believe Rabbi Nosson anyways. This Tana doesn't hold Rabbi Nosson ever. Rabbi Nosson is a Tana. I'm also a Tana. Since I never ever hold of Rabbi Nosson's concept bichlal, here too I don't believe in that concept too. Yeah, I don't believe in that concept either, and therefore I don't need a pasuk to exclude it. Simple. That's very simple. Next, my time at the Tanakama. Yeah. What's the reason? One more halacha. What's the other halacha that differentiates between the Mecher Atzmoi and Nimkar BeBeis Din? My time at the Tanakama. What's the reason for Tanakama that says Mecher Atzmoi, Ein Rab, excuse me, it's again, Mecher Atzmoi, Ein Rabbi Moisel Shivcha Knainis. Why is it that Tanakama says one who sold himself, his Rebbe, his master, doesn't give him Shivcha Knainis? He's not allowed to have relations. Yichud with Shifcha Knainis. Yeah. Why should he? Well, it's true. The Torah only mentions Shifcha Knainis where it says it in Shmois regarding Nimkar Beis Din. But if you Beis Din, if the Nakama believes in Sochir, the Gzer Shava, export import, then everything should apply to everybody. And says the Gemara, Miyat Rachmanu Gabe Mecharu Beis Din, when Beis Din sell him, the Torah gives an exclusive word to come and exclude and be moitzi from that Gzer Shava. What does it say? If his master gives him a wife who's a Canaanite, you're right, it's not exactly Kiddushin. If he gives him a woman, a Canaanite, loy. What's loy? Loy to him, clear, yeah, very clear word here, to very exclusive. Only to him you give the Shifcha Canaanite, to the one who was sold by Beis Din, the one who was a thief, a shenken, a regular guy who sold himself. This guy, he doesn't get the Shifcha Canaanite. What would Reb Lezer do with that? Reb Lezer does believe that both Avadim get the Shifcha Knainis. What would he do with the word loy? It says the word loy comes to say against his will. It's a big chiddush. Usually in halacha, you never have people marrying against their will, right? Definitely not men. Yeah, even women above bas mitzvah. There's no such thing above naira. So all of a sudden here, the Torah is mechadish, a big chiddush. A man can be forced into having relations, being with a shifcha knainis. And now what? Yeah, why? Because the Torah has the extra word loy, not to exclude, to say loy even against his will. So now Tanakame, how does he know that an Eved Ivri gets a Shifcha Knainis even Bal Kochoi? Answers the Gemara, we'll learn it from a different source. Michi Mishne Sechar Sochir Nafka. Soon we're going to explain it. But when the Torah tells you you have to give nice gifts to the Eved at the end of his term, it says there, Mishne Schar Sochir. What does Mishne Schar Sochir mean? Mishne means double, yeah, like Sheni, like double. The Torah says, yeah, give him nice gifts and don't feel bad. Don't be a miser. This guy worked for you double as much. What does it mean double as much? Tanya, that's what the Brisa says, and you'll see how it's connected to our sugya. Ki Mishne Schar Sochir Avodcho. Yeah, that person worked for you. Mishne Schar Sochir. Is double much, is double as a regular worker. Avodcho. Why? Why is it double? Sochir ein oved elo bayom. A regular sochir comes to work daytime. Some people nowadays work at night, so it's only night. Most people are not slaves, they don't work 24 hours a day, right? The guy does is, I don't know, 9 to 5, difficult job. Okay, 7 till 8. He works during the day, but not by night. People don't work by night, or only night and not day. Eved Ivri, Oved ben bayom ben balayla. Eved Ivri does double shifts. Double shifts he does, yeah? Like doctors in the, right? In the ER. What does he do? He do 2 shifts, day and night. What does it mean, says the Brisa? Are you trying to tell me Eved Ivri is enslaved to work day and night? He has no absolute no rest, no break time. It says about an Eved Ivri, Ki toiv lo imoch. Yeah, it should be he is in a good situation with you. It's good for him to be with you, or I would say he's enjoying himself as much as you do, which means imcha b'meichel, imcha b'mishte. David Ivri, you have to give him nice food, give him nice drinks, give him a nice pillow, a drink. In other words, so definitely he's not working 24/7 because he eats and drinks together with the Baal Habais, so it's more or less the same schedule, right? He sleeps like the Baal Habais. It says on a pillow, on a nicer pillow. So he's not treated like some menial slave, right? Okay, so what do you mean he works day and night? Omar Bitzchak, here's the solution. There's work and there's work. Omar Bitzchak, mikan sheraba moisel shifcha knainis. His work is to be with the shifcha knainis at night, and this way he's going to have babies with the shifcha knainis. That's his work. His job is to be married to the shifcha knainis, and we believe that happens even against his will, because that's like kind of slavery. He's with her at night, and that's the work. Why is it the work? Because the babies will go to Baal Habais. Ay ve'idach. Now, what would the other opinion say? In other words, what would they say? In other words, if you learned the idea of the forced marriage from Loi, then what will you do with Schar Sochir Avodcha, right? Yeah. And says the Gemara, Ima Hosom, from Schar Sochir, yeah, Havamina Hanim Midaite. I would have thought, yes, of course he is with a Shifcha at night. I would say only if he wants to. Aval Bal Kocho Emaloi. I would have said, who says it's forced? Who said it's forced? He said he gets a shifra kananis. Maybe he loves her and he wants her and he's all excited about the whole thing. Maybe it's good. Kamash malan, no. That's why you need two words. You need, first of all, to tell him about the shifra kananis in general, and that you learn from the idea of schar sochir. Yeah, Mishnah schar sochir. How do you know that it's forced? That we know from Loi. Very good. Ad kan hakofa aleph. So really, up until now, we have figured that according to Tanakama had different sources. Each one of the four has a different source to tell me that all these four halachas, shin, shin, reish, hey, all these halachas are exclusive to an Eved Ivri sold by Beis Din, not one selling himself. For example, by the Retzia, we said oznoi, and not the oizen of Mechar Atzmoi. And here too, it says loy, you give him shifcha knanis, and not to Mechar Atzmoi. Very nice. So, but lemaisa, otherwise, other than that, everybody, meaning both Rab Lezer and Chachamim, they both believe there is a gzer shava of sochir sochir. Okay, gzer shava is out there doing something else. Yeah. The question now comes a new question. Ela mantana deloyo livschal sochir, which means, if you remember how the sugi started before yesterday in the previous Amud, we said that there is a Tana who does not believe in that gzer shava of sochir sochir. The question is, who is the Tana? Basically, all we're doing now, and we're not done yet, is to find out. We're investigating. We're doing detective work. We're trying to find out who is the one. Yeah, who is the Tana? Mystery. Who is the Tana who does not believe in the Gzer Shava of Sochir Sochir? Because so far, Rab Lezer and Chachamim both believe in it. Answers the Gemara. Hi Tana, he's the Tana. Oh, before we continue, let me give you a small introduction, although a lot of it you've seen yet. You saw yesterday, but I'll tell you again. First of all, there are, as I said, 3 times in the Torah where Eved Ivri is mentioned. Twice it talks about the Eved Ivri who's sold by Beis Din. That's by Parshas Mishpatim. Yeah. And in Parshas actually Shoiftim, I think. Ah, nice. Mishpatim Shoiftim in Dvorim. I think it's in Shoiftim there. And in the middle, in Vayikra, in Parshas Behar, where it talks, by the way, about Yovel, and it talks about going back, yeah, to your family in Yovel and all that. There it talks about Eved Ivri who sold himself. It says Mefurash outright, Ki yomu chachicha, your brother is poor, he's a mach, he became impoverished, and now he wants to sell himself, and so happens. Now, you have to understand one thing. The concept of Yovel, and this is a big misconception, although you guys already saw it in the Mishnah, you saw the truth. The concept of Yovel applies twice. Yovel either means a person was nirtza, he almost finishes 6 years. Who is that? The person who's sold by Beis Din. Just before the 6 years are over, boom, he says, I love my master, my wife, my children. Yeah, I want to stay. Poke the ear, and then he stays. Does he stay for another 49 years always? Yeah. It says La'olam. No, not always. Until Yovel, you meant to say? Until Yovel. Until Yovel, Yovel can be 49 years from now, or Yovel can be 1 year from now. Yeah, until the next Yovel hits. Yeah, that's when he stays until then. However, we already saw in the Mishnah, and we're going to elaborate more, there's also another application of Yovel. What happens if Yovel came before the original first 6 years are over? In the second, third, fourth year, the Yovel came bang in the middle. Then too, everyone goes free. Yeah, Yovel too is a way to free everybody. And in that respect, so far, if you noticed, that's not one of the Shin Shin Reish Hey. Really, Yovel applies to everybody. Everybody. Both a person who sold himself, it's mefurash by him. A person sold by Beis Din is also goes out in Yovel in the middle of 6 years, as we're going to see. And also the Nirtza, a person who decided to stay for longer, you can stay for longer, but only until the Yovel comes. So Yovel deals with everybody, right? Once the Yovel comes, end of all slavery completely, except for Avadim Kananim, of course. All Avadim Ivrim go home. Avadim go home. That's what happens in the Yom Kippur of the Yovel. That's just a general picture. Now we're going to explain more. The Tanya. It says in the Brisa, quoting a pasuk in Vayikra, in Parshas Behar. It says over there, V'shav el mishpachtoi, says the pasuk, V'lachuzas avoisov yoshuv. It says that the person, let's assume now it's in Yovel, he comes out, goes out of you, goes back to his family, and to achuzas avoisav goes back to the family assets of his fathers. Also, by the way, it says there in Rashi, maybe later on in the Gemara too, you're not allowed to shame him. You're not allowed to remind a person of his dark past, of his, you don't tell a person, I remember he used to be an Avadim Ivri, no. No, treat him with respect. Once he's back to his, good life, that's it. It's all over. It's all very nice that we're saying here that somebody goes out be yovel, but what kind of Eved are we talking about? If you read the psukim there, a person who sold himself, and by the way, we are now analyzing the psukim, we're reading the psukim in Vayikra. The psukim in Vayikra only talk about a guy selling himself. Trust me on that one, yeah? Now, if you want to tell me that this pasuk is telling you the guy who sold himself goes out in Yovel, it's written already before. That concept of him going back by Yovel is written at the beginning of Parshas Behar and then later. Why is the Torah repeating the same thing twice? Maybe you're talking about, and by the way, up until now we have two types of Avadim. Now we're going to treat Nirtza as a third type. We have a guy selling himself, guy sold by BSD Din, and there's a guy who, by his own free will, is staying the extra time, right? The Nirtza, the one who, before the end of 6 years, says, I love my master, poke my ear, and I'll stay until the next Yovel. Now, Ibn Nirtza, if it's telling me the Nirtza goes out in Yovel, Arek Var Amur, that is also written, and later on we'll see where it's written. So if so, a guy selling himself, I know already. A guy who's Nirtza, I know already. Who's the third one by default? Ha'ena Kosuv Medaber must be the Kosuv here. The extra posuk in Vayikra tells me, El B'mecharu BSD Din. It's talking here. The pasuk talks about a person who was sold by BSD Din. Shtayim v'shalosh shonim lefnei Yovel. 2 or 3 years before the Yovel, he was sold. Shayovel moitzioi. The Yovel now takes him out. In other words, it's a little bit like the concept which we saw many times. Imeno inyan legufo, it's now inyan or something else, right? Many times the Torah tells you black, it really means black, white. Because you don't have to say the same thing twice. Yeah, same thing over here. If you read the pshat of the psukim, it seems like the Torah talks again and again about a person who is, selling himself. But that can't be. The Torah is not a website. I'm saying extra words. Must be. The second time it says that the guy goes out in Yovel, that talks about a guy who was sold by BSD Din, and he too goes out in the Yovel even before the end of the 6 years. Give me a second, please. Now, so again, wait a second. Did you hear what the Brisa just said? What did Reb Lezer ben Yaakov say? You need 2 psukim about Yovel being a liberating force even before the 6 years. One for selling himself, one sold by BSD Din. Doesn't make sense. If you believe that there's Gzer Shava Sochir, that does such a beautiful import-export on both sides, why do you need the extra pasuk? Nail of Sochir. You can just learn Sochir, right? Why do I need special pasuk? The Torah is to waste words on us. Why? If there is a Gzer Shava of Sochir, finished, right? And that's it. Elamai must be that Reb Lezer ben Yaakov, he's the one. We found it, Yuroki. We found what? Reb Lezer ben Yaakov, who needs special psukim for Yovel. By the way, Yovel is not one of the 4. Don't ask me from the previous sugya. It's a new sugya now. The Shin Reish Hey, they're different. Yovel applies to everyone. Very good, I agree. But why do you need the special pasuk? It says it about one Eved selling himself. Sochir does a trick. Yeah. Why? Yeah. Elamai Masber Lezer ben Yaakov does not believe in Gzer Shava, and we knew there is a ton out there mysteriously there who doesn't believe in the Gzer Shava. Must be Reb Lezer ben Yaakov. He's the one. Give me just the answer. Now, Reb Nachman bar Yitzchak, no. Reb Nachman bar Yitzchak is rejecting that suggestion, rejecting completely. La'olam, really, Yolif Sochir. Could be that really Reb Lezer ben Yaakov is on our side. He believes that Sochir is Gzer Shava. And yet the itzrich, although the Gzer Shava is there, but when Gzer Shava doesn't make sense, it can be poich the Gzer Shava. The itzrich, why? I still need the extra pasuk to tell you that even the guy who's sold by BSD Din, he too goes out b'yovel. Why? I would have said, this is a little bit like your logic, Alan, from yesterday. The one who sold himself, he didn't do anything wrong. Yeah, it does say he got to his poor situation because he didn't do the right things before, but the actual selling yourself, yeah, I need money. I sell myself as an Avadim to a nice frum guy. I didn't do anything wrong conceptually in the sale, and therefore I have the right to go out b'yovel. If the yovel hits me before 6 years, well, that's my benefit. That these are my human rights. Yeah. Aval mecharu BSD surah. Oh, if BSD are the one who sold him, they didn't sell him because he has nice nose. They sold him because he stole and he's not giving back the money. That's the naughty boy. He needs to be punished. Ema niknesei. I would have said, with all the respect to the Gzer Shava, I would have said, mister, you have a term of 6 years. Yeah, you need to be not in jail, Khalila, but you need to work for that nice family 6 years, not 1 day less. The Yovel came in the middle. That's nice. So good. So what? That's what I would have said. Give him a knas. Make him stay 6 years. KML. Kom mashmalon. Mashmalon, that no. For that, I need the extra word. I need the extra word to tell, not extra word, actually, a whole extra pasuk to tell me that even though the guy is be'etzem, in a way, criminal, as we would say, he still benefits from the Yovel. Even if the Yovel came before the end of the before the first 6 years are over, still it goes out. But for that I need a special pasuk. Okay. Now, so far we know what we know, that both people, the one who is, we know that both people, the one selling himself and the one sold by BSD Din, at the end of the day, they both benefit from Yovel. The Yovel rights that does apply to both. That's so far one thing which we know applies to both. Even before the original basic term of 6 years is over, maybe 3 years into it. The Gemara later will talk, I think, or Rishonim. I know there's a discussion about if it came too early, maybe after 1 year, I don't know. But if let's say it came after 2-3 years, the Yovel, the guy goes free. Lucky guy. You buy an Eved and you're upset he was taken from you after 3 years. Honeycomb, you should have checked your calendar when you did the sale, right? Obviously, you should have checked nowadays we don't have Yovel. Unfortunately, we're out of it. We don't know what Yovel is. If you buy an Eved in times of Beis HaMikdash, I highly recommend look at the calendar, see when is the next Yovel, and be smart and plan your purchase accordingly. Obviously, okay? It has to be, obviously. I mean, the other way around, be lower if it's 2-3 years.
Oh no, yes,
yeah.
No.
Yeah. It says by land, you're not allowed to cheat your friend. That's lotoino. If you know that the Yovel is coming and he doesn't, the seller does have the obligation to say to the buyer. Omama. Now, let's focus on one point which we mentioned before. We said about the third kind of Eved, not the one who sold himself. I mean, not the one. It is the one who was sold by BSD Din, but he's already in a new stage called Nirza. What's Nirza? Nirza with an Ain, not Halal Nirza of Leila Seder. The Nirza, Retzua, Rotzea, is a person who's there post 6 years. And we're asking a very funny question, L'choira. We're asking, how do you know he goes out b'yovel? Well, every child in Gan knows that the one of the Retzia goes out b'yovel. Now, it's not so simple, because most people know the psukim in Mishpotim. Usually when people talk about Avadim, the first thing comes to mind are the psukim in Mishpotim, the beginning of the Parsha. Everyone still talks about the beginning of the Parsha more than the end of the Parsha. And there it doesn't say Yovel. What does it say? That if it tells you, I want to stay v'chule, he should stay there le'oilom. What does le'oilom mean in nice Hebrew? Forever and ever. Forever. Oh, so if I was, Reform, Chalila, or Koroi, I would say forever. How do you know it's still the Yovel? Doesn't say it anywhere. Not in Mishpatim yet. He stays forever until the guy would die at the age of 130. Yeah, he was sold when he was 13. Yeah, maybe forever means forever. That's not so simple. You know it's Yovel, but let's hold back. The Gemara has a question. How do you know that Nirza is Omur Maihi? What exactly do you mean? How are you so sure? How do you know that the Nirza guy, how do you know that he stays still Yovel? And Yovel, after the whole big ceremony of Retzia, and he loves everybody and wants to stay, Yovel will come 2 years later, and then he has to go. There's no other way. So, Lamaisa, whenever Yovel hits him, 2 years from now, or 49 years from now, how do you know it's Yovel? How do you know Yovel is the next cutoff point for the Nirza? The Tanya, because there's another pasuk at the beginning of Parshas Behar, and it says over there clearly, it says over there, it says, and there it says, Mefurash Yovel. I'm reading the entire pasuk. The Kiddushin is Chamishim Shana. In Mekadesh, the 50th year. When I said 49, I meant 49 and 10 days. He still stays 10 days into the Yovel, but he parties, the party for 10 days. So the 50th year of Yovel, you should announce liberty to everybody who's on the land. Yovel Yovel, it says the word Yovel. So it says outright in a much clearer way, beginning of Behar, there's a year called Yovel. When does it come? Every 50th year. Very clear. What happens there? People go back home. The question is, who are people? So it does say that somebody of this whole Maisa we have over here goes back home, his family and his dignity and his loving family and everything, when? At the 50th year. So we want to say now that we're connecting it to who? To the Nirtza. But how do you know? Let's try and slowly break it down and see what kind of people, the man goes back to his previous glory, to his family and his freedom. What kind of man are you talking about? The one selling himself, we proved already before, is already mentioned later on in the parsha actually. The one sold by BSD Din is also mentioned, as we saw later on in the parsha. And must be by default the only third eved, the only default option is a third kind of eved, the nirtza. Even if it was only 2 or 3 years before Yovel, the Yovel takes him out. Now, the question is still, how do you know in the pasuk? Do you see any? The Gemara is still unhappy. The Gemara wants the pasuk, itself to hint to the fact that we're talking about a nirtza and not other people. Otherwise, we could have rearranged the psukim. Connect different people to different psukim. The Gemara says, "My mashma." Where do you see in the words of the pasuk that the person that we talk about going back to his family is the one nirtza? It says the Gemara, "Omar Rove Bar Shile Omar Kro Ish." As I stressed to you before, it says a man should go back to his achuza, to his household, to his inheritance. A man excluding woman. What kind of halacha from the halachas of avdus applies to a man and not to a woman? As I think I told you before, we did mention it in the Mishnah, Retzia does not apply to women. Let's say the woman, the girl, we did mention it. The girl at the age of 11 and a half, she knows that she's supposed to soon leave the master's house, and she absolutely loves it there. As opposed to Western ideas, she loves it there. She wants to cook, clean. She doesn't want to go to school. She doesn't manage with the parents so well. She prefers being with the other family. I think a lot of kids nowadays would prefer that option. And she says that a hole in my ear makes me look even more cool. Everyone's going to be jealous of me. Great, I want that. No, you cannot do that. We're going to learn it later. There's a whole drosha. But the halacha of Retzia only applies to men, Avadim, and not to women, Avadim. And therefore what? And therefore, when the Torah says Ish el mishpachto Ish el achuzas avosav, that tells you something that applies to men, meaning Retzia, but she'en ken, the nirtza, i.e., something only applies to men such as Retzia. That Retzia, the nirtza, goes out b'yovel, and as well as the others who are mentioned in other psukim. Choices asks the question. Allow me one thing. All the Rishonim ask the question. There's another point. There's another very important difference between men and women when it comes to the avdus, and that is geneva. Only a man is sold if he stole. If a woman stole, break her bank account. I don't know what he'll do to her, or she has no money to pay. That's a good question. I don't know. I don't have solutions. But if she stole, she doesn't get sold. There's no such thing by woman being sold because of her. It says begnevosoi velo begnevoso. If so, excuse me. Maybe the pasuk who speaks about men in masculine form comes to exclude the one who's nimkar begnevosoi, or excuse me, he's talking about the person who's nimkar begnevosoi, that he goes out beyovel, right? Maybe that is what the differentiation between men and women makes you. Says Tosfos, no, it's not true, because I'm not saying Tosfos now. I'm saying what I saw in one of the other Rishonim. A woman, a man can be sold against his will, to who? Whoever. By who? By BSD. You're not interested? That's a law. You stole, you're not giving back money, we're sorry. The law says, sorry, you have to go and not be an Avadim. You'll get the best conditions, everyone loves you, you'll get an Ashif Chaknanis, maybe you're going to like her, all good, you're going to get gifts at the end of the term, nobody's against you, but you have to whether you like it or not. That is what? Eved Oh, the Ama Ivriya does have an equivalent to that, and that is the girl. A girl below bas mitzvah is not interested in being sold to be an Ama. The father can tell her you have to go and be an Ama against her will, right? Oh, so therefore, because we saw at the end of the day that that kind of forced mechira applies to men and women, that's why it's not exclusively male. Yeah, question? Yeah. Weiter. Oh, now obviously the question comes, why did the Torah have to kivyochol spend words and tell me about all three types of Avadim that they go out beyovel even if the yovel hits them before the 6 years? Says the Gemara. The Torah had to tell me both regarding the one sold by Beis Din and both regarding the nirtza, the both of them go out with the yovel. Machru Beis Din goes out in the yovel even before the 6 years. Machru Beis Din, sorry, and the nirtza, obviously after the 6 years, after he's been with the whole, then what's his next stop? The final stop is yovel. Why do you need to tell me about both? Diashmin and Machru Beis Din, by the one sold by Beis Din, mishum delomatoi zimne, because as you guys were saying, I think Alan, that was bothering you. The time didn't yet come. The Balabais can say, and everybody can say, it's not fair. 6 years haven't come yet. He's already going scot-free. I thought minimum is 6 years. 6 years is always the minimum, right? He goes out in Yovel after 2 years. Yeah, that's a chiddush. Yeah. Aval nirtza dematoi zimne. No, sorry, I made a mistake. Oh, that's the next piece. Erase. I jumped the gun. What I told you now is true, but it's the next move in the Gemara. Sorry. Re-record. I don't have time to re-record. It'll just like the Iyashmin. Sorry, Macharu Beis Din. No, Mishum the Lomatoi Zimne means as follows: the person who was sold by Beis Din, right? Then the time didn't yet come, which means the Torah doesn't like the fact that people overstay the welcome as avodim. The fact that the guy says, "I like my wife," you can like your wife very nice, even though she's a Canaanite, and your children, and your Adon, you love everybody, all nice. It's not good to overstay your welcome. It says, "Kili bnei Yisrael avodim." Bnei Yisrael are my avodim and not other people. That's why we degrade him a bit by saying, "Your ear, listen to in Har Sinai, I heard you shall be my slave," and you go and you like to enslave yourself, subjugate yourself to other people. We don't like that. Oh, in the light of that, I'll read again. Guy sold by Beis Din. I know he's a thief. He's not a nice guy. He's not a thief. He stole, yeah. But the time haven't come yet. In other words, he's not trying to overstay his welcome. He's there for the minimum amount. So give him a break, literally. And if Yovel came after 3 years, give him the Yovel break. Aval nirtza dematoi zimne. The nirtza, he's a bit of a bad boy. He says, Loi etze chofshi. Yeah, he says, I don't want to be free. I want to be a slave. After his time came, instead of becoming a free person and serving Hashem, you're serving another person. I would have thought maybe no, maybe he doesn't go out beyovel, right? Maybe he should stay for longer, stay for life, stay longer time. On the other hand, let's say the Torah would have told me about yovel regarding nirtza, mishum de ovad lei shesh, the nirtza. That's what I meant before. The nirtza, why does he go beyovel after, let's say, 2 or 3 years after the extension, after the boom? He did his bit. He did the 6 years. Yeah, Lavdil, in Israeli mentality, you speak to people, they said, Asiti ta shalosh shanim. I did my 3 years in the army. That's what they mean. Yeah, I did my bit. He wasn't excited about the army. I did my bit of 3 years. Goodbye. Yeah, that's what they say. Now I moved to California. Yeah, So here too, in other words, he did the 6 years. So now, so therefore the Nirza did 6 years. Now, why should he do more than Yovel? If Yovel comes and hits him after 2 years, let him go. He did the minimum plus a bit, Miluim, 2-3 years, and then the Yovel came. Gesundheit. Ava Machru Din, the person sold by Din, the Lovad Leshesh. The one sold by Din, we're talking about a person who's within the 6 years. Hey, you didn't do your 6 years yet. You didn't do the minimum. Emaloi. That's a big chiddush. A yovel can hit you before the minimum, the basic amount you're supposed to do, the basic period. Maybe yovel doesn't help you. Tzricha. That's why we need both. Now, frag the Gemara another one. Ve'itzich limichtav v'shavtem ve'itzich limichtav le'oilom. Oh, as I told you before already, you guys already know the answer. Why does the Torah, when referring to a nirtza, the Torah in the Parshas of Behar tells you v'shavtem isha lechuzoso, you go back to your land in the Yovel, right? So we know after the he gets another extension till Yovel. And again, the Torah says, the beginning of Parshas Mishpatim, the Torah says in Shmois, it says La'olam, forever, which really means also Yovel. Why do you need both? The answer is obvious. Had the Torah only told me forever, I would have thought forever. Until he dies. The guy can have long life. You know, it's going to die at the age of 115. He's been there in Eved for 100 years. Yeah. That's what the Torah writes. V'shavtem, we're there. It's clear, black on white. The Torah says you go back at the 50th year. Yeah, in the 50th year you go back. Because of Rachmana v'shavtem. Oh, now that's a big question. Maybe you should have only written v'shavtem. Why can't the Torah, instead of kivyochol confusing me, the Torah should have written v'shavtem isha l'chuzosoi in the 50th year, and you don't have to write lo'ilam, right? True. Just write, go back in the 50th year. 50th year, I know how to count till 50, you know. Why does the Torah have to confuse me by writing lo'ilam, right? Why do you have to write forever? Really, it's 50. So erase the pasuk in Mishpatim. Answers the Gemara, no. Havamina would have thought, Ani mili hecha deloy ovad shesh. I would have thought like that. Let me explain it to you before I read. Havamina was that we have periods of 6 years. What's the minimum basic amount of Avda? 6 years. Unless something happens in the middle, Yovel thinks, Simonim, Nair, 6 years. Oh, Havamina, that maybe the Torah, works in periods of 6 years, in units, 6 years, another 6 years, another 6 years. That would be a viable, a feasible Havamina. I would have thought like this. If the Torah would have told me, you know when he hits the Yovel and he goes out by the 50th year, Eicha Deloy Ovad Shesh. Let's say the guy did not do yet 6 years since he poked his ear. He did 6 years. Then, right before the 6 years over, I want to extend the period. And then what happens next? I would have said maybe there are two options. You know, when the Torah told you that he goes out b'yovel, the 50th year, when the next period, after the first 6 years, 7th, 8th, 9th year came, then came the yovel, he goes free. Aval hecha de ovad shesh. Let's say the person, after the poking of the ear, let's say then he did 6 years more. He did 6 years after that. Then I would have said, let him go free now. Let him go free in the next unit of 6 years after 12 years, and don't wait for the yovel who's going to come later. Why? I would have said, Lo yesoifoi chomu mitchilosoi. Why should the end of his term be more severe and longer than the beginning of the term? Matchilosoi shesh. Of Sofer Nami Shesh, just like the beginning of the term is the basic 6, allowing Lo'ilam should mean what? Another 6 years, not Lo'ilam. The Yovel doesn't apply there. Another 6 years. Kamash Malan Lo'ilam, Lo'olam Shel Yovel. Oh, Kamash Malan comes and tells me, no, Lo'ilam, it has to be something important till Lo'ilam. Lo'ilam means for a long time. Again, let me repeat. If the Torah only told me 50th year, there are two cutoff points, 6 years or year number 50, whenever it comes. I would have said, wait a second. If the Torah would have told me La'olam sounds long time, in a long time from now. If the Torah wouldn't have told me La'olam, I would have said, listen, that Nirtza is not supposed to stay there for a long time, as opposed to what we learned already from the age of 5. It's hard to make the mental shift. Maybe the guy who wants to stay there a bit longer, then we have units of 6 years. Then what? If the Yovel hits him after 2-3 years past the first 6, 7, 8, 9, came the Yovel, let him go free. But let's say the Yovel is still a long time to come. He did 6, now he's doing another 6. You want to make him stay longer than 12? If the basic unit is 6, then elongated one, the addition, the cream on the cake, shouldn't be more than that. Yeah, 6 is basic. Another term, okay, another 6. Mechitesi, the extension should be longer. Comes the word la'olam and tells you la'olam. Even if the Yovel is far away, 49 years from now, even then you should wait and make the entire period until the Yovel. That's why I need the word la'olam. Beautiful. On the other hand, if it only said la'olam, it would be the other extreme. I would have said the 100 years. Amash Malan, the 50th year. So what's the maskana? Very clear. He loves his Adon. He wants to be a slave. Very nice. Until when? Regardless of whether it's 2-3 years or 49, whatever happens, the next stop when he goes out is the Yovel year, the 50th year. Atzlacha bracha. Thank you to everybody here in Avos Shalom. Thank you. We just finished the Amud almost. And we're still looking for what? For the Tana, the mysterious, the Tana who's hiding from us. Who's a Tana who does not believe in the Gzar Shov of Sochir Sochir? We're still to find him. Hashem, tomorrow to Tzvav Amud Beis. Thank you, everybody here in Avos Shalom, and to people in Torah Anytime in our YouTube channel. Thank you. Have a great week. Mashiach should come soon, and all the tzars would stop right away. Only Geula. Thank you.